Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome?
Yo, what's good? What's going on, motherfuckers? All right, another episode. All right, let's get fucking swiney today. Is everything on? Everything on? Hello? Yo. All right, we're good. Let's go. Yeah, all right, so today, we're gonna watch some shit for the public episode. We're gonna start with, well, actually, I just wanted to say before we get any further into this, happy Black Day, everyone. I wanted to just say happy Black Day to everyone celebrating today. I hope everyone has a good National Black Day. I hope everyone, gets to experience the great freedom of America on this national holiday of ours. And I hope we all remember, the great people that walked before us in which we celebrate this day for. So, not only to the African Americanos out there celebrating, but to all Americans, happy Black Day, America. Happy MLK Day, in all seriousness. I don't know I think people take it pretty seriously, but I don't know why. I think some businesses even shut down. I don't know, but I get it. It's important. It was an important day in our country's history. So, I'm not even sure I really remember the history of MLK Day, why it's on January 19th. I do remember having the information shoved down my throat when I was going through the public school system, kind of just like they shove World War II, a lot of the times propaganda, and then some other times the information around World War II, who was, affected by it the most, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember those two specific things were shoved down the throats of students all throughout public school. Every grade, you seem to have to learn at least one section or one chapter each grade you went up regarding the social studies shit and history and whatnot. You had to fucking learn about World War II and what happened in with Nazi Germany. Rarely learned about, the rape of Nanking. And then you also learned every single year, because you celebrated MLK Day, celebrated Black Day, where you got a day of school off. And that information was also shoved down the throat, but not really the whole story of, World War II, or the whole story of who MLK was, and maybe who actually assassinated him, who actually put out that hit. Yeah, let's go history before we get started. We're going to start with a video that's a little lengthy, but it's a good one. All right, let's see what Grok says. I just want to see let's go over the history real quick, see what's good on this great holiday of ours. I'm not being sarcastic, just a little tired. Chill out. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, often called MLK Day, is a U.S. federal holiday, observed on the third Monday in January each year. So it's not the 19th; it's just the third Monday in January each year, to honor the life, legacy, and contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the prominent civil rights leader. Blah 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 blah. We know what he did. Dr. King was born on January 15th, 1929, and the holiday is placed near his birthday under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act framework, which groups several holidays on Mondays for convenience. Nice. Origins in the long fight for recognition. Okay, we're not going over the fucking civil rights right now. We should actually, talk about civil rights though on this holiday of ours in America. We should maybe start including some of those civil rights over in Africa, where we just rape their land until they have no resources left, no health care left, and no anything left. And the people of the land that China and the U.S. and these superpowers rape for precious minerals, metals, and things like cobalt, energy resources, they will be left for dead once these superpowers are done, having their way with land that is inhabited by a group of people now enslaved by the superpowers to extract and get the resources that we don't need, but we make lots of money off of. We profit a lot. It essentially runs our economy. The energy that's extracted from Africa's fucking land essentially runs our economy, and they don't get to use any of the profit. The people that literally inhabit the land, that make slave labor wages, are working in conditions that essentially it's a 50-50 if you're going to die every day when you go to work or not, or if you're going to get severely injured and leading to early death or permanent wounds or permanent health conditions, because they don't have medical care either. So it's crazy that we're going to celebrate civil rights for yet again another year. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Obviously it's a good thing. Okay, it's cool. MLK was kind of the lustful black though, and he did create, he did commit some sins. He was not a perfect man, but he was also a great man, did great things for the black people of America. But we sit in America on this day every year, third Monday of January. Each year we sit here and we celebrate the civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr., which led to the freedom and civil rights granted to the black demographic in our country. But it's just kind of ironic that we sit here as a country and celebrate that, while our country's leaders and governing body, as well as the other superpowers, are essentially raping the land and resources in Africa, a majority black population, and are doing it with no remorse. And I find it ironical, to be honest. Let's see if there's anything else. Origins. Okay, so the push for the national holiday began almost immediately after King's assassination on April 4th, 1968, which is also suspect. And also that same decade, the 60s, dude, you had fucking JFK in 63 on the 22nd of November, I think. And then you have King going down in 1968 on April 4th. Also, this is the decade where you have the Summer of Love in the Manson murders. Speaking of which, I'll just bring this up while I brought it up, and seems like a good time. Reading this piece of fucking shit. This piece of fucking shit that was the national and agreed upon narrative of the situation with Charlie Kirk. What happened with Charlie Kirk? This is what everyone had to believe, because it was the only source and the only allowed telling of what happened with the Manson family and the LaBianca murders and the Sharon Tate murders and the rest of the people that were in the house. There was 5 people at 10050 Cielo Drive, which was Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate's house. And yeah, I mean, by now everyone's heard about the fucking book Chaos. I don't need to go over what that book's about because, I mean, every podcast, and not only that, it seems like every person is now finally getting around to reading that masterpiece that just absolutely destroyed this fucking faggot narrative by Vincent Bugliosi, who was the prosecutor of uh, the murders that happened. The prosecutor got to write the book, the novel, to be told nationwide, even globally, and be accepted as truth. Seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest, but I haven't finished it. Kind of just started. He's a terrible fucking writer to begin with. I don't know why. I've heard people on, like, I was listening to the radio the other day. Didn't have my phone on the way back from Phoenix. Had to drop my sister off at the airport, and so I was riding back home. I just forgot my phone in Tucson. So I rode back home, no phone, just listening to the radio, listening to, mostly ads and commercials, and maybe a pretty objectively terrible song in between, usually by someone like Taylor Swift, but with the occasional good song. I'll give him that. But I'm listening to this talk show that's on 93.7 KRQ in Tucson called John Jay and Rich, and one of the co-hosts uh, answers the question of their favorite book, and it's Helter Skelter, which is this piece of shit. And I am 46 pages in, and it's the guy is a fucking scummy of a writer. Like, the way Joe Rogan, some other people that have read a lot of L. Ron Hubbard's books say that it's he's a dog shit writer too, because he never completed a second draft ever. He would just scribble, story incoherent, go next one. And well, they found out why that was, and why he would, write so sporadically and never really write a second draft, because he always had something new. And that was actually explained on Joe Rogan's show by Chase Hughes, the CIA mind control interrogation expert that went on. He's been doing the podcast rounds, and he said that well, because the reason Chase Hughes knows L. Ron Hubbard's condition is because he has the same condition, and I think it's called uh, it's something temporal. Oh my god, something temporal. Uh, oh my, I'm fucking retarded. What is it? What? Oh, it's epilepsy. I'm retarded. It's something temporal epilepsy. I'm gonna look it up right now. Um, all right, so let's see. Yeah, temporal lobe epilepsy. I think this is the one that Chase Hughes and L. Ron Hubbard has. And essentially, what happens when you have temporal lobe epilepsy is you have, like, very frequent, very, like, severe seizures throughout the day, like 8 to 9 seizures throughout any given day. And Chase Hughes says that's how many he was experiencing before he started supplementing and treating this condition with methylene blue, funny enough, which is insane to think about. But yeah, L. Ron Hubbard also suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy. And what this does is you go into, let's say, 5 to 9 fits of seizures a day. And during these seizures, they might last like minutes, but it's almost like a DMT trip. It seems that you have almost lived a whole life, or years of a life, as the person experiencing the epileptic event. So an L. Ron Hubbard or Chase Hughes would go into one of these seizures that manifested from their condition. They would almost have like some like a psychedelic trip that it lasted minutes in reality, but to them it was like a DMT trip that could have lasted years or a lifetime. And in this uh, epileptic fit, they would experience things, or L. Ron Hubbard would, and he would experience uh, new stories and new things all the time during these seizures, and uh he would come back to and immediately start writing what he was seeing in this epileptic event, and what he was, the new story that manifested when he went into the seizure. So that's why he wrote so many, and that's why he never really wrote a second draft either. It's because he would just have 8 seizures a day. He's seeing different shit each time that is like akin to a fucking psychedelic trip. And then he would come out of this fit and immediately start writing. And yeah, it's probably not coherent. Neither is a fucking seizure, I'm guessing, when you're in the fucking throes of it. So that's why, like, when Rogan's like, he's a shit writer, he never wrote a second draft, it's because he had temporal lobe epilepsy, which caused him to have so many fucking seizures that he would experience new novels each time he went into one. And they were so frequent, and they were so novel each time that, like, it only made sense just to write what you see each time you have a seizure, and go with whatever you are able to write from the one to the next. And that's why he was also the most prolific science fiction writer of all time, because he had so many fucking seizures, just dropping like dropping like fucking flies, bro. Dropping like motherfuckers with myocarditis, and I got 2 boosters. But they didn't have methylene blue, or they did, but I don't know if anyone was using it during L. Ron Hubbard's time. Maybe they knew about it. He was naval intelligence, or that's what Scientology is. Or at least a part of it is. But Corey is Chase Hughes. So Chase Hughes, the guy, the mind control interrogation expert that works for the CIA and huge corporate businesses. He goes on Rogan. He goes, "Yeah, I was having these same fits," and he was explaining that, like, each time you go into one of these epileptic fits that comes from temporal lobe epilepsy, you experience like a whole ass novel, and it's like different every time, and you have so many of these events that you can it's just so much information coming into you during these events that only lasts minutes, like I said, but to the person that's actually experiencing the epilepsy, it feels like it feels like lifetimes or years or months. And so, and you're not always, like a DMT trip. You might be living as a different person in that epileptic fit, which is crazy. And I think that, and I forgot which writer it was, before Jordan Peterson started, crying every time he fucking got on camera. He'd give you the fucking coolest facts. But I forget if it was Jung, or it was either Carl Jung or another psychoanalyst or someone of that realm. But they would, it might have been Nietzsche. No, you know who it was? It was Fyodor Dostoevsky. So the Russian novelist, one of the best of all time, if not the best uh, writer and novelist of all time, regarding his ability to portray reality for what it is and be able to express that and transfer that portrayal of reality to the masses through story. Then it didn't even have to be it didn't have to be nonfiction. He would write fiction stories, but like many say, great fiction novels and great fiction stories oftentimes have way more truth than any nonfiction or scientific textbook will give you. It's all, I mean, like Jordan Peterson also used to say before, he was just yelling at, yelling at people, going, "You little fucker, you better not say that to me again. You'll treat me with respect when I come on this show. I don't have my benzos today. I don't want to cry." But he would also say that, life is a story for everyone that's a human being. And so that's why when you look at the ability of fictional stories to guide people in aiding them to navigate the world in reality work much better than nonfiction books or science books or economic books or whatever the subject you want to talk about that uh, have textbooks. Fiction is usually going to teach you a lot more. I mean, I think a lot more people before going in, if you watched Harry Potter or read the books before going into high school or even middle school, and especially going into university, people that have had gone through those books and understood and love those books actually, I think, had some sort of like advantage going into these new chapters of life. And that goes for Lord of the Rings, that goes for The Hobbit, that goes for all these. Game of Thrones is a good one, but it's a little bit different. But these fictional fantasy stories oftentimes are way better. And like this one, it's supposed to be a fucking nonfiction, true crime book. And yeah, I mean, it's dog. I mean, it's so like it's not. I mean, I get that he's trying to tell there's something that exactly happened this exact way, which turned out to be completely false. Funny enough, so it was a fiction book, but it's not entertaining. And honestly, most people will go that still believe this or believed it at the time would go, well, it's boring because he's just essentially telling you the exact happenings of this whole Charles Manson and the family situation and the murders they created. So maybe it's supposed to be boring because they're just regurgitating facts about the case, but that's not true because um, one, it's been proven completely false. The prosecutor of the case is the one who wrote it, which is sketchy, and that's a conflict of interest. And not only that, if a book is boring, that's is something as fascinating and as crazy and entertaining and intriguing as the Charles Manson murders, the La Bianca murders, the Tate murders, and the family that was Charles Manson's cult in general is so fascinating to the point where if you can't make something entertaining when you're writing about it, it's probably because you're spewing out lies and falsities about the case and actually masking uh, the truth with those lies. That's probably why it's fucking boring. It's because it's not it's just a bunch of lies. It's a bunch of lies told by a liar. And so yeah, I'm not that far in. Helter Skelter though. That comes from the Beatles song, which is fire. I think who Motley Crue remixed it. Helter Skelter, Helter Skelter. I would play it, but this is going to be the public episode, so Uh, but yeah, that Helter Skelter was blamed for the murders, the song by the Beatles. And that was Bugliosi, the author of this dog shit. That was his conclusion because they wrote pig or fuck pigs or whatever on the walls with Sharon Tate's blood. And well, we all know the real story of Charles Manson, which was he was a victim of uh, the CIA program, MK Ultra. He was taught how to also enact that programming he experienced onto other people through the use of drugs and uh, you know suggestion and a bunch of other things, finding the right people to initiate into a cult, etc. He was taught that by literal experts like Jolly West, Louis Jolly, yeah, that's his name. Louis Jolly West, the most like prolific psychologist when it came to the mind control tactics and the deception and um the splitting of personalities. He was the guy. I mean, he was involved in so many different things, all the way from military to things like Charles Manson. So and all the way to things like Lee Harvey Oswald and JFK and his assassination. Uh, Unfortunately, he's dead now, so we don't really have the ability to talk to Louis Jolly West, but he probably should have been locked up in prison and died there. But he was probably doing research till the day he died. I forget what. I mean, he lived. He was old, so I mean, I think he's still involved in shit though. He was working at Stanford, I think, for a little bit. Real, it's like the picture perfect fucking intelligence guy that you never hear about, but that they tell you like Cash Patel and these types of people are the competent uh hardcore motherfuckers in these types of agencies. And it's like, nope, people like Jolly West and uh anyone who acted like that, behind the scenes, in silence, while having so much influence, everywhere you go or in any event that happens, your name's tied to it, but you're never on the fucking TV screen, taking accountability or taking blame or taking credit for anything. You're just working behind the scenes, the real puppet masters. And I have never been able to find this one picture, uh, but I've seen it before, and it's almost totally scrubbed from the internet, I think, because I've never been able to find it on Twitter. I've never found it on Google, etc. And it's a picture, and I forgot who ended up noticing this, but it's a newspaper uh, uh, with a picture of Stanley Kubrick and a group of people that were with him, either working on a film or doing something regarding a new movie or a new project of some sort. And people started to examine this group of people that were with Kubrick, because when you look back on it, Kubrick was also one of these one of the most influential people in the world when it came to uh, 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 I guess unveiling what is really happening behind the scenes and what reality actually is, if you look at it for what it is. And he didn't. Stanley Kubrick is top dog when it comes to directing and film in general, in my opinion. David Lynch number two. But there's this newspaper picture, and it has Kubrick on it, and he's with a group of people. And it turns out that one of those people in this newspaper article, in this picture of the group of people, one of them was Jolly West. And that's just really odd because, well, given that what Stanley Kubrick knew, which is clear as day, that he knew what was going on, or maybe even had engaged or been invited or had been allowed to view uh, when he was still alive. So he knew so much, and that could have been from research, which is unlikely. I mean, like research just from like, oh, I'm going to the library and I'm going to learn about all this stuff, and I'm going to write the movies I wrote, which are absurd. That would be absurd if that was only from knowledge that he learned from secondhand sources or third party sources. So that's one way, but probably not likely. And then you can then the other likely reason he knew about all this stuff is because he wasn't only invited, he was a cherished character of these elite people. Just because he exposed what these people do does not mean that he was never a part of it or never took part in any of the activities or rituals that they engage in. It just means he might have drew a line at one point, and well, I think he was at these events, and he was at certain functions, let's say, where he was able to see a lot of shit go down, which he was able to put into his movies in subliminal ways and also in very obvious ways, like the ritual that is performed in Eyes Wide Shut, the at the fuck, the Rothschild mansion. I forgot what they call those towers, the Montmere towers or something like that. I forgot the name of them, but that's an obvious interpretation of a satanic ritual abuse uh, that is performed at these elite sex parties, which likely involve trafficking of humans and children, especially, and the murder of these people as well, the abuse of these people, and the summoning of whatever the fuck they're worshiping. Clear as day, that's what's going on in the Eyes Wide Shut ritual that goes on when Tom Cruise sneaks into the mansion. And Stanley Kubrick might have, that scene was so fucking good and so intense and so on point, and it hit you in your fucking soul. And so, I mean, I don't think he learned, uh, that type of knowledge to write a scene like that from books and third party sources. He might have actually witnessed a fucking ritual like that, in which he drew the line and was like, I'm going to write about my next movie. I'm going to show this. And like, I've gone over Stanley Kubrick's fate multiple times, so I'm not going to do that now. But this book is full of fucking lies, but I'm going to read it because I read Chaos, and fucking one of my favorite books of all time. One of the fucking books that woke me up and kind of set me on my trajectory into just deprogramming everything that I've learned and thought was right and what I've been told was right and what to trust, and uh, started to reprogram and condition myself with what I can only assume is the more truthful than what I'd already been taught. And Chaos really set me down that journey. Chaos, Creature from Jekyll Island, Space Relations, One Nation Under Blackmail, Volumes 1 and 2, Whitney Webb, You're a Savage, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. There's so many books. Like, I love my bookshelf. That's my favorite thing ever. My favorite possession of mine is my bookshelf. But yeah, I mean, you can go read this if you want to read a actual fiction book about the chaos, or not the chaos, the Manson family. It's kind of like Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood film. It's like his interpretation or his spin on the LA scene during the 60s and the Summer of Love, and specifically the Charles Manson family and the murders that they carried out. And Tarantino completely misses he fucked that up so bad. He fucked it up so bad. Uh, yeah, it could have been so much better if he went about it the right way. But he lives in Tel Aviv now. Why would he fucking tell you the real story of chaos? But yeah, this one, yeah, we'll see. I'm also fascinated. Sharon Tate's like my all-time number one celebrity crush, all time. My all-time favorite, all time. You know, um, it's my all-time. Dream celebrity wife or girlfriend or date. It would have been Sharon Tate. Was not in very many movies at all, and didn't play many big parts at all, if any. But I don't know. I remember the first time I saw a picture of Sharon Tate, and I was like, "This is the fuck." I saw a picture, and I can probably pull it up right now, and I immediately looked at this, found out who it was, and I was like, and I mean, this is before I even knew about the Manson shit, so I didn't even know she was involved in that. And then, yeah, that also kind of sent me down these fucking roads that I went down regarding conspiracies and what's really going on. Sharon Tate, how fucking beautiful she was the first time I saw her in a picture. That it was one of the reasons as well I started looking into Roman Polanski's faggot, kid-loving ass. Like, the dude that, just wasn't there when all this went down, but it was at his house. And also the dude that's not allowed in, I've already gone over this multiple times too, not allowed in the US because he likes fucking kids and admitting to it. Let's see. But yeah, go give Helter Skelter a read if you want to just, see a fucking prosecutor that had probably put people away for life or for long periods of time due to perjury and lying on the stand and you know telling false stories. I wonder how many people he's ruined the lives of because of telling lies and perjuring yourself. And then he goes and writes a book on the biggest case of his career, in which gets completely debunked while he's still alive, too. It's crazy. He was a fucking scumbag, that guy was. In Chaos, they don't only talk about the Manson family and what actually happened. They talk about what this fucking Vincent Bugliosi, this fucking fag prosecutor, was up to. Not only being a scumbag during this prosecution and this trial, but just a scumbag in general, trying to physically beat up a girl he got pregnant to cause an abortion. He's a fucking scumbag. Like, that's just one thing. I mean, that's the first one that came to mind, but he literally did that. He got a fucking side bitch pregnant, and he didn't want it to ruin his career because he's so high up in the realm of prosecutors and lawyers, that a scandal like that would have been something akin to like Bill Clinton's sex scandal. So he gets this person pregnant and then tries to physically abort it himself by beating her up physically. And I don't want to give it away, but yeah, Vincent Bugliosi's a fucking freak, dude. Damn, I might not have this picture. I'm not gonna keep looking. Oh shit. No. Hold on. I got it. Now I'm in too deep and I'm trying to sleep. Damn. I guess. Finally, I found it. Yeah, this is the picture that made Sharon Tate my number one all-time celebrity crush, and I'm still just devastated to this day by this one murder. The pregnant Sharon Tate. Yeah, it's not. Is this better? No. Such a fucking beauty, man. And she's fucking pregnant. She never really was one of those fucking cunts that was, wanted. She aspired to be an actor her whole life, but wasn't one of the cunts that, you know, you, like Blake Lively and those types, where they just enact all fucking sorts of shit because they have to be what they have to get everything they want. Most actors do, almost every single one. Sharon Tate didn't give a fuck that she was never really a lead, never really had more than like 12 lines or 10 minutes in a movie, never was in huge movies that we would know about. Just was happy being an actor, and probably happy being the wife of one of the most well-known, and when you look at their Roman Polanski's movies and writing objectively without uh also throwing in that he likes fucking kids, just objectively looking at his writing in his movies, he did write some of the best movies of all time, like Chinatown, Rosemary's Baby, etc. So she loved that too. But the thing is, Sharon Tate, once she became pregnant, she could give a fuck less about acting and anything else. And the only thing that she cared about or wanted to do or engage in, and the only thing that she put her attention to was uh, her pregnancy and that baby that she was going to have that died by, being stabbed to death. And, yeah, and, uh, yeah, she died that night with her baby. Had her blood written all over the walls that said "fuck pigs" or some shit that led to a race war. That was a manufactured race war, which then Vincent Bugliosi goes, it was the fucking Beatles song "Helter Skelter" that fucking influenced these hippies to take drugs and try to revolt against the powers that be. It's fucking this Vincent Bugliosi guy actually kind of reminds me of that faggot, that butthole, uh, shit dick Lindsey Graham, who I think is still on vacation in Israel, meeting with the leaders of Mossad. But all right, let's get on to something else. Fuck Vincent Bugliosi. Fuck Helter Skelter. Uh, Rest in piss, Vincent. You and Dick Cheney are probably having a nice cup of warm piss down there in hell right now. All right, let's watch this video of this ex. So this is going to be a video of this ex Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton sex abuse victim, and trafficking victim, and she tells a pretty in-depth story that we can watch. And these are people that we don't acknowledge for some weird reason as a crime family that are still operating and influencing our country today, and have been involved in much more than what this girl is going to lay out for us. So let's go. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see the screen too. Oh, shit. 2030. Come on, why are you not playing? What are we doing here? Alright, I have it on my phone then. Fuck this thing. God damn it. Alright, let's go. Oh, we're gonna do some hate watching today. That's what we're gonna be doing for this public episode. Alright, where are we at here? Come on. I know I downloaded it. God damn it, dude. Here. Give me 1 sec.
To carry out my first trial run operation. Trauma to carry out my first trial run operation. An enormous quantity of cocaine had been flown in on one of these operations. I was to deliver it into the neighboring state of Arkansas. By that time, Bill Clinton's drug operation was in full swing. He was governor of Arkansas, and I delivered this cocaine to a remote airport in Ouachita Forest, which I've since identified as Mina Airport. I also delivered a little packet of information and a small quantity of cocaine, a personal stash from J. Bennett Johnston, to Bill Clinton. I delivered it to Bill Clinton, and he cut out 2 lines of the coke, and he did inhale. That certainly wasn't the only time I saw Bill Clinton using cocaine. My sexual experience with Bill Clinton was extremely limited, in spite of the fact that I was a sex slave. It was my experience that Bill Clinton is bisexual, leaning far more towards a homosexual end. All I've ever seen him involved in was the homosexual activity, with very limited experience with him myself. Whereas my experience was much more prevalent with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the lighting on this thing. Fuck, that didn't work. My bad. Ambient setting. Okay, auto brightness. Off. Alright.
With Hillary Clinton, because Hillary is also bisexual, leaning more towards a homosexual end, and it was she who accessed my sex programming to fulfill her perversions. People have all kinds of belief systems, and I'm sure each and every one of you has various and different belief systems as well. Regardless of what your belief system is, it is imperative that you know that these criminals are people that are within our realm to affect. They need to be held accountable for their actions and their crimes against humanity. It was 1980 and my daughter Kelly was born. She was born directly into the MK Ultra Mind Control Project on a much higher level, a more sophisticated technological level than I was subjected to. In addition to trauma, she was subjected to harmonic mind control programming on NASA installations literally since birth, before her brain even had a chance to form. As soon as Kelly was born, Senator Byrd figured I'd been traumatized enough by that time and ordered that we be transferred back to Nashville, Tennessee to carry out operations during the Reagan administration. But being within the country music industry, we had a second handler. His name was Alex Houston. Alex Houston is a ventriloquist, stage hypnotist in the country music industry. Above all, he carries out criminal covert CIA operations that fund the black budget, and this certainly included bringing in large quantities of cocaine and distributing them through the United States, Canada. He was working at that time and provided a cover for me to be taken throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean for these criminal covert operations. As my handler, he took me to various military and NASA installations for mind control programming for specific operations that I was forced to participate in. These operations that I won't have time to get into tonight are detailed in our book, Transformation of America. And they involve such leaders as the President of Mexico at that time, De La Madrid, and Vice President Salinas. It was my experience that in 1984, there's a CIA trauma-based near-death trauma center that's located in Lampe, Missouri. It's called the Swiss Villa Amphitheater. And they bring certain involved country music acts in to bring large quantities of cocaine or bring the cocaine out for distribution, because Lampe, Missouri is just across the Arkansas line and is very much a part of Bill Clinton's cocaine operation. And it was in full swing at that time. It's also interesting to note that this Lampe, Missouri operation is where the country music industry was more conveniently relocated, right there in Branson, so that it would be closer to Clinton's cocaine operations. Lampe, Missouri was a place where I heard George Bush and Bill Clinton talking, where, from the point of view I had, they certainly were friends, and they didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's something for the, a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhered to because they had exactly the same agenda, and it was for bringing in this new world order.
All right. Stop it right there for right now. I'm going to just say, I'm going to comment on that. I've been saying that. I'm not saying it's my thought, but I've been saying this for almost the whole time I've been making this podcast. I've probably said it on over half of the fucking episodes, that these people are operating on the same team, which is the occult, the occultural swine. They are part of the oldest religion in the fucking books known to mankind, that is operating at a degree of power that we can't even fathom, because it's not acknowledged, because they think most people think the opposite of Christianity and monotheism is atheism or science, and it's just so completely wrong, because the opposite is monotheism, the opposite to monotheism is paganism, polytheism, the occult. And when she says that, I think she's exactly right. These people, they might be on different political teams, but the political teams they're actors in a huge worldwide play going on, and they are essentially just portraying a theater that has a specific narrative to push so that it creates a very specific outcome, which would be the New World Order, which all of them would then, go, hey, we were on different teams and you voted for us for decades on decades on decades on decades, believing that we were going to change, that we were going to be your savior. And in reality, like I've said for so long, that these people are part of the same team. They have the same agenda. They have the same goal. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump had the same goal. They are operating as the same team, but playing different theater roles on the world stage. And yeah, so Kamala and Trump had the same goals, but Kamala is too dumb and drunk to even get the ball rolling towards that goal, which Trump was by far the better choice, not only for the right, but also for the left when it comes to the people that are operating at these, very high realms of power. They don't give a fuck with left and right. They understand that they got to play these sides. They got to play roles. They got to play characters. They got to play heroes and villains so that they can have us going back and forth until we uh, almost unconsciously lead ourselves into, in which would be like a one world government, in which we would look up after arguing for so long and realize that now we're all globally being controlled by this one big group of people, the occult, which is made up of all of the politicians who said that they hated each other and were of the opposite of opinions and values and perspectives on reality, but they were just deceiving you, like the occult does, like the devil does, like demons do. And that's what they worship. And so, yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, these politicians, these uh, anyone that takes a stance or a side on anything that has influence is part of this group of people that have one goal, and that's global control. And they worship the same religion and are part of the same groups that subscribe to this religion, these intelligence agencies, these secret societies. They might be in different groups around the world, and they might you know run with essentially their groups of people, but at that level of power and control, they all come together under one umbrella of worship and religion, and that is the occult, the oldest religion, the old religion they call it. And that is the enemy of monotheism in Christianity. And well, essentially doing just the religion of goodness and doing goodness in the world and bringing about good things. They want to destroy that, invert that, and they do it by deceit and uh, uh narrative control, and they're okay playing the long run, and that's what's going on. So that was a good point.
I heard George Bush talking at that time. He was talking to Bill Clinton, and I've just photographically recorded it and wrote it verbatim in our book. That when the American people became disillusioned with Republicans leading them into the New World Order, that Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, was going to be put into the office of president. This was decided in 1984. Actually, I'd heard about it even prior to that, but that, as of 1984, they were already discussing it as an absolute fact. It was also discussed in the groundwork for NAFTA that by the time George Bush went into the office of president, that Salinas was going to become president of Mexico, and they together would be bringing in the NAFTA, which was the beginning of New World Order controls. I was forced to participate in the criminal groundwork for NAFTA, the opening of the Juarez-Mexican border to free trade of drugs, free trade of our nation's children. It's absolutely appalling, the criminal roots of NAFTA. Again, this is detailed in the book. But it's interesting to know that these political moves had already been decided way back when. And as I deprogrammed, and as I was, it was really something to me to find out people didn't know about this stuff. And it was so obvious to me, I didn't realize that people were unaware and had got into some kind of smoke and mirrors illusions of what was going on and never thought to look behind the scenes to what was really going on. But I understand good people don't think that way. They don't have criminal minds. They don't think to look for that kind of criminal activity. Just like these guys are limited in their thinking by immorality, good people are kind of blinded from that kind of criminal activity until their eyes are open to truth. This criminal activity that was going on at that time, the people that were involved were following directions from George Bush. I don't purport to know it all. I don't purport to know that George Bush is at the very top of all this, but he is as high up as I knew. It was my experience that Ronald Reagan answered to George Bush, not robotically, not under mind control, but willingly, because George Bush was respected for what he knew about bringing in the New World Order. Consider his past.
Yeah, I mean, consider his past. She's probably going to repeat what I'm about to say, but yeah, it's no coincidence that George Bush is well respected among the occult and this group of people that are operating with the same goal in mind and the same the same values and the same goal in general, the desired goal, the desired outcome that they want to end at, the final destination that this group of people want to end at. George Bush has got to be like one of the top guys in this whole entire fucking group out of everyone. And it's not just because it's George Bush is that guy. It's because it's generational with these people too, and these groups and these societies. They value bloodline like no other. They value bloodline like a Targaryen type shit, like Game of Thrones type shit. They value it to such a degree that these families and these bloodlines actually believe that they are like a higher value being compared to like the common person like you or me, unless you have an elite in this fucking audience right now listening. But like you and me, we are seen almost as like, you know how Jews see non-Jews as goyim, and they then view you as someone they can steal from if they want to. They can kill you if they want you, rape you if they want to. They can commit any act of they can commit any crime against a goyim. That, you know, so when I say any act of crime, literally any act of crime that they would view as a crime if it was a Jew on Jew, those are all on the table if it's a goyim non-Jew. So just like that, these people that value bloodlines to such a degree that you would think it's akin to Game of Thrones, they view the common people as something that's almost subhuman. Maybe not, they might not view the common people as subhuman, but they view themselves as almost superhuman, or like a higher being that's operating on a higher plane of reality. And maybe they are, I don't know, but I think there's like 13 bloodlines that seem to be very important. My mom's always going on about the black pope, the white pope, the red pope, the black pope being the most popular, or not most popular, the most powerful. I don't know who the fuck that is, the black pope, and that's probably why they're the most powerful. But she's probably going to say George Bush was one of the most well-respected people that were of this group pushing for the New World Order and that whole global control mechanism because of his connections, his family, the generations that he came from. His dad, George Bush Sr., literally was the director of the CIA, was also the president. He was involved in how many secret societies, I can tell you. He once he got elected into presidency and also ran the CIA, that's when things really started to shift into this weird, like, nonstop war, nonstop violence, nonstop blood sacrifice, nonstop corruption when it came to who's getting into these positions of power, who gets nominated, who gets elected, who dies, who doesn't. And also, I'm pretty sure George Bush, I don't know, go look at his wife, Nancy Bush, is that her name? I'm pretty sure it's a dude. And I think it's a Macron fucking Big Mike situation. Let's see. George Bush Senior wife. What's her name? I know Nancy Reagan was Barbara Bush. Yeah, dude. You go look at a picture of Barbara Bush and George Bush Senior. She, I mean, dude, I don't even know if I can call this she. Oh my god. But yeah, if you have the time, go look at what Barbara fucking Bush looks like. Disgusting.
Bush first began with the United Nations. Then he went on to head our CIA. Then he ran our country through 3 administrations that I'm aware of: the Reagan administration, his administration, and the Clinton administration.
And Obama.
Reagan and Clinton both answered to him. Mexican President de la Madrid answered to him. And
I'm pretty sure Obama is related to the Bushes too in some way.
Knew that Salinas was to be coming into power, and Salinas had more influence in Mexico at that time than de la Madrid, that as far as my experience was concerned. Also, Saudi Arabian King Fahd followed orders from George Bush, as did the Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney. And
the Saudi loyalty that George Bush was able to get, and well, I mean, not able, just was the loyalty he got from the Saudis, probably also played a big role in 9/11 as well, and how the Saudis had a part in it as well, and how George Bush, good old first pitch throwing faggot motherfucker, had a part in it as well as our greatest fucking ally. So, when people want to put the blame of that event and a lot of other psyops on one group of people, they're wrong, because like I just said 10 minutes ago, these people are all of the same group of the same religion that we know as the occult. They just operate in different groups, I guess, on a daily basis, and based on, like, where they live, or who their families are, who their bloodlines are. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be the same goal for these people. So when you put the blame on Israel, because Israel, wanted nukes, wasn't allowed to have nukes, and so JFK dies, and that's really weird. But then there was other people that also had a that would benefit from JFK dying. So yeah, Israel did have a role in it. So did the other groups of people that have the same goal at the end of the day as Israel does, as the people who run Israel do. And so when you look at like 9/11, you could say it's Saudis, our intelligence, and then also Israel. And every single group that had a part to play also had a benefit to gain. And also every group, regardless of being different countries and different groups, all were aware of their common goal at the end of the day. So they can agree to carrying something like 9/11 out and going like, we're all going to get blamed for it, but we'll never be in trouble, because they can't take everyone down. If no one turns in their homework, then the teacher can't fucking punish anyone. And that's essentially what they do. They all these people that go, oh, you can't keep something like this silent. You can't keep something like this silent? Who says you have to be silent about what you did? It doesn't even make sense. And who's to say that groups of people, especially like countries and intel groups, how could they not keep a secret? That's like their whole job. So I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to coordinate, people not, saying anything about what the fuck they're not supposed to be saying to people, the common people. And if you do say something, well, you'll be found, and you'll have 2 gunshot wounds in the back of your head and you'll hang yourself somehow. And that's how they'll deal with you for talking and knowing too much. So it's either keep your mouth shut, damn it. It's either keep your mouth shut or you'll kill yourself in a literal impossible way. That is it's so obvious that it wasn't suicide that they almost throw it in your face and say you're going to believe it. Because there's nothing else that you can do about it. I mean, people are still walking around actually believing like Jeffrey Epstein fucking killed himself. Fucking.
Brian Mulroney. In 1983, I heard Ronald Reagan and Brian Mulroney discussing the New World Order. Senator Byrd had acted in the capacity of a pimp and prostituted me to Reagan, and I was president of this White House cocktail party. Now, Ronald Reagan certainly provided a wonderful smoke and mirrors illusion for all of us. For those of you who don't want to believe that he's involved in this, he told you he's an actor. And he did a real good job of it for a long time. That was his role. That's what he was supposed to do. Nevertheless, I heard Ronald Reagan telling Brian Mulroney that he believed
Anyone that's the governor or the representative of California is always going to be an actor and a scumbag. And if you listen to anything they say and you believe it still, you deserve the consequences that you experience. You just deserve it. Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like Renee Good. No one deserves to be killed. Like, I'm not calling for people to go murder or be murdered, but I'm saying that if you're still going to protest, it's going to be civil because that's our right to civil, to engage in civil protest. Okay, that was the idea fucking centuries ago. But I mean, if you can't discern the inevitability of civility not existing anymore when it comes to protest and domestic issues, then you shouldn't be out protesting. And if you do go out protesting with the idea of it's not going to be dangerous for me, I don't have to worry about this, I can drop my kid off and not care, and I can go protest and it's always going to be civil and nothing bad is going to happen. If you're operating with that mindset in today's age and you're going to protest and you get shot and killed, I'm not saying you deserved it. I'm just saying like I don't know. I like maybe you did. Maybe you need to be an example of, because they go, oh, you still have politicians going, you have the right to protest peacefully. They won't allow you to peacefully protest because they'll fucking put things in your head all day from social media and everything else that causes fear responses. They will put it in you nonstop, like they put in fucking heavy metals into you nonstop from every different source of ingestion that you take part in, whether it's the water, the food, blah, blah, blah. They'll hit you every which way like they do with heavy metals, vaccines, food, water, the air, etc. They will hit you the same way with fear and fight or flight techniques so that you are always in a state of fight or flight. And when that happens, well, people start getting shot in the fucking head. And, essentially Minnesota is what happens when you're constantly attacked at the cortisol level, at the fear level, at the primitive response, animalistic level, which causes the violence. But if you are operating under the impression that it's just going to be civil now whenever you go out and protest, especially when you saw how many things happen in Minnesota already. Floyd, the trans shooting, the some, just so much shit. You wouldn't even think it's real, that place, Minnesota, at this point. But like I said, I don't know, if you have a perspective that allows you to essentially be in a state of cognitive dissonance when you show up to these dangerous events and you get shot in the face twice. I'm not saying death is a good thing and murder is a good thing, but maybe it needed to happen because this retard Renee Good made a bad decision by moving from Canada, where that's where she got the idea of being a revolutionary civil protester, and to come and do that here in the United States. She must have got it from that faggot, uh, ass fucking prime minister they had, Justin Trudeau, who's now dating an MK Ultra victim that probably only pegs him. And so, I mean, she got the idea that you can civilly protest and nothing bad's going to happen from her faggot prime minister. She was a career poet, so never faced any hardship in life. Cared more about, treating illegal immigrant criminals like children, that she cared more about that than actually taking care of her own children, which is why she didn't have custody of 2 of the 3 of her kids. And the only other kid she had custody of was at a daycare center, probably a Somali one at this point, who knows, waiting to get picked up by their 2 dyke moms who are protesting civilly. But his biological mom actually, while their kid was waiting, her kid was waiting, got shot in the face, crashed into another car, and then the last thing she saw was a giant fake dinosaur in someone's fucking yard, dude. The last thing she saw was an officer that was telling her to get out of the car. She says, "I'm not mad at you, dude." The last thing she then hears is her fucking fat dyke partner, who actually was abusing and putting cigarettes out on Renee Good's kid, funny enough. So she probably should have lost custody of all her kids. And the kid's going to be better off, honestly, that Renee Good didn't come home to him that day, or didn't come pick him up from childcare, because they were just scummy people with nothing to give. So let's keep going.
The only way to world peace was through mind control of the masses. I know from experience there's no peace of mind under mind control. And I wonder, at a world peace where people don't have peace of mind, mind control, the ramifications of mind control are far-reaching, because I also know that under mind control there's no free thought. Without free thought, there's no free will. Without God-given free will, there's no soul expression.
Ooh.
What kind of a world peace can we have without any free will or any soul expression, without any spirituality? Mind control needs to be exposed in order that people maintain their freedom of thought, in order that people maintain their free will and have that spiritual expression, because of spirituality, when people have soul and spirituality, they're going to be acting in the capacity of love anyway. That is where world peace is, not mind control. By 1988, I'd been forced to participate in numerous operations against my will, all of which I certainly would never have done. I guess if I had had any part of me that was willing to do anything like that, mind control would not have been necessary. I'm appalled at what I was forced to participate in, but I am relieved that this information is getting out, that people are passing the book Transformation of America hand in hand, hand to hand, so that hand in hand we can take back our country. Disinformation is information that you have a right to know and a need to know, and their controlled medias are not going to suppress truth. Truth prevails. In 1988, Mark rescued my daughter Kelly and I. We couldn't think to escape. I couldn't think to save my daughter any more than I could think to save myself. And all those childhood hopes and dreams were certainly hadn't come to fruition. When Mark rescued Kelly and I, we didn't have any ability to even hope for good people. We didn't know they even existed. We didn't have a capacity to trust anyone. It wasn't within our realm of experience. I couldn't think to reason that Mark was a good guy. But I'd seen him with his animals. And even though I didn't have any ability to consciously reason, and Kelly didn't have any ability to consciously reason things out or to think things up, we had this extra sense developed. We sensed things very strongly. After all, when you consider that we use, 10% of our brain, we've been like blasted into other parts of our brain, and these parts of our brain were real perceptive on what's considered, I suppose, psychic levels by some definition. When we had a sense for things, kind of like the animals did. And we noticed that the animals loved Mark. He had these raccoons that he'd rescued. He had 3 raccoons, and they all loved him. And they hugged him, and they wrapped their arms around his neck, and they patted on his face and kissed him. And, that was really a neat thing for us to see, because we had only seen our animals abused. We lived on a farm. And we had dogs and cats and horses and cows and guineas and chickens and all kinds of animals, all of which Alex Houston tortured or killed to keep us in line to, if we didn't do this, this would happen to our pet. And we loved our animals. Please bear this in mind, that people who abuse children oftentimes abuse animals. If you see someone abusing an animal, keep your eyes open, look further, make sure those kids are safe. I've never seen an exception to this rule. Not that there's not one out there somewhere, but I've never seen an exception to it. So it was very telling to us that these animals loved Mark. Additionally, when he came in and rescued us,
she's never seen an exception to the rule that when you see people abusing animals and they're around children, they're likely abusing the children too. So, Hassan Piker, that goes for you, buddy. Keeping your dog in check with a fucking shot collar so that you can look cool on a stream with a dog that minds its business and sits and looks all cute. But when it gets up just to move around as a animal and a dog, a bigger sized dog too, you fucking shock it, and then you go and lie about the whole situation when people call you out. This lady, who seems to be much smarter than someone like a socialist, communist, loving faggot like Hassan Piker, who should go back to the country he's from, but he can't because they would arrest him or maybe even kill him, and that being Turkey. But yeah, maybe people should start looking at Hassan Piker in a different light. The guy that's a socialist, communist, sympathizer, and also probably a self-admitted communist and socialist. He loves the Little Red Book by Mao. Not only that, I mean, he also shocks his dog to make it stay in one place so his stream looks better. And I guess he might be a socialist, a self-acclaimed socialist or communist. Yeah, usually has like some weird fucking narcissistic desire for power and control, which is the opposite of what they profess to be a part of, which is that myth and that fucking illusion of socialism or communism that he portrays to be a proponent of. But she said she's never seen an exception to seeing someone around kids that abuses dogs that doesn't also abuse abuses animals that doesn't also abuse the kids that they're around. So Hassan Piker should be looked at a little bit more closely if he gets around anyone young that is vulnerable to someone like him.
I mean, here we were under the gun of the CIA. Everything was very precarious, to say the least. I was 30 years old. I was supposed to be killed, as most mind-controlled slaves are at the age of 30. Besides, I was considered too old for sex by that time, so I was supposed to be wiped out. But Mark came in and rescued me from certain death and rescued my daughter from a fate much worse than death, and took the time to rescue our animals. He packed up all those cows and horses and guineas and chickens and loaded them up on these different trailers and everything and brought them to safety as well. This had a profound impact on Kelly and I. We certainly developed an ability to trust right there and then. Mark took us to the safety and serenity of Alaska. Since we were safe for the first time in our lives, experiencing love for the first time in our lives, memories of our past began flashing on our mind's screen. As these memories flashed, and I started to remember what had happened to me and to my daughter, particularly during the Reagan-Bush administration, I became enraged. I was enraged at what my daughter had been through, the tortures I'd endured, and what the plan was for humanity as a whole. I'd have been blinded by that rage, immobilized by that rage. If it weren't for Mark's wisdom in telling me that the best revenge is total recovery. Because through total recovery, by photographically recording all those events, I could expose these people for exactly what they are, for what their plans are, for what I witnessed behind the New World Order. Be able to get help for my daughter, who was in desperate need of help at that particular time. So I began writing out my memories. By writing out my memories, I used a different part of my brain than verbalizing. It bypasses emotion. Bypassing emotion was very necessary for logically making the incomprehensible comprehensible, for understanding and grasping what had happened to us and what could be done with that information. Kelly was not so fortunate. Because of the harmonic programming that she'd endured, remembering the traumas and deprogramming the program did not allow her access to all parts of her brain as it did me. She still needed some technological equipment to help her recover. She needed to actually have those neuron pathways vibrated back open with harmonic equipment. Therefore, she went into Humana Hospital in Anchorage, Alaska, in an intensive care unit. She suffered horribly at that time and responded only to some psychological intervention and not to any conventional medications. Kelly was actually suffering of respiratory failure because mind control has advanced to the point where they know the ins and outs of the brain and the mind so well that they know how to program not only the subconscious, but to go into the primitive mind, the very area of our mind where blinking, breathing, and circulatory, heartbeat, all that is
The thing I just said, they're going to attack us in the most primal areas that are related to fear, cortisol, so stress, and animalistic, so like first instinct behaviors. It's gonna go. They are going to attack every aspect in you that is more animal in nature than human. Because what humans are so good at is being able to see into the future, see into the past, make decisions based on those, make decisions based on memories, make decisions based on patterns. Like we humans are so extraordinary, but when you attack humans in specific parts of the brain, in a specific way that attacks their fear response, their stress response, and influences animalistic, instinctive decisions, impulsive decisions over uh, humanistic, well thought out decisions, then you can mind control someone exactly like that. When someone's put in a state of fear and stress, they can't make decisions with a clear head. They got to make those decisions on the spot with a foggy mind, and they got to do it, in a state that doesn't allow them to, accurately it doesn't allow, when you're in a fear or a stress response, you can't you don't accurately predict or perceive what's going on near as accurately as you do when you are calm, cool, and collected. And I mean, to put it simply,
regulated, and they could go in there and put death programs in place. In my daughter's case, it was respiratory failure, so that in the event that she ever had cause to remember, which they never expected could happen, but in espionage, that can happen. We've heard of that, where the brainwashing, where they have the memory access. So they would have to take the old cyanide pill anymore, like they used to, like spies used to. Instead, they would just simply go into respiratory failure, circulatory failure, and no information would be released at all. There was no chance of the information getting out that way. Since my daughter was being raised was genetically and mind controlled, being brought up to be in espionage, she had that program in place and it went into effect. Because of the medical attention that she needed, she became quickly thrust into the illegal and immoral custody of the state of Tennessee, where she remains today. The violations of laws and rights that proliferated in her so-called legal case were extensive. We had one clean district attorney that went in and told the judge that he was violating constitutional rights and human rights in my daughter's case, and cited law after law after law, and the judge interrupted him and said, but laws do not apply in this case for reasons of national security. It certainly raises a question. What does national security have to do with a documented, validated, and proven rape and molestation of a child's mind and body? For Kelly's sake, and the sake of so many other mind control survivors out there, we need to lift this veil of national security. We need to repeal the 1947 National Security Act. This is the national security that's threatening the security of our nation when it covers up such crimes against humanity as mind control, when it covers up the CIA's so-called war on drugs, when it covers up the selling out of our country to New World Order controls. That's a national security that has nothing to do with the security of our nation. This national security has kept information pertaining to mind control for all of you for far too long. We've got to get this information out. We've got to arm others with knowledge on mind control, because knowledge is our only defense against mind control. We need to get this information out in detail so that we can all be more effective in our particular areas of taking back our country and ultimately taking back our world, for Kelly's sake, for the sake of all the other mind control survivors and victims that I know are out there. There's many, many of them. And for the sake of humanity as we know it. It is truth that sets us free. Please help us spread the word. Thank you.
all right, that was fire. Now we got another video. Hold on, I'm gonna No, I did not want that. Alright. One more. Come on. Alright, let's see how you do this. Alright, airplay. Alright, yeah. That was fire. That was fire. And she goes, when she goes, look at this fucking pube face motherfucker. If you guys can't see that good, it's Rabbi Shmuley and his daughter. We're gonna watch one more video after in a sec, and see what Rabbi Shmuley and his disgusting Pinocchio looking daughter have to say. Fucking pube face faggot. I hate this guy. But I guess he has some things to say about Sneeko and all the influencers who went out to the clubs in Miami the other night with each other. I think it was Nick Fuentes, and I got problems with all these guys too. I'm not going to talk about them. I already did an hour of it yesterday. It's on the Patreon if you want to listen to it. I gave those fags and kid diddlers and potential traffickers, whatever the fuck they're up to, I gave them an hour of my time. But I honestly thought it was worth it, because whatever the fuck happened in Miami the other night was crazy. And that's what Rabbi Shmuley Pubeface and his black dildo loving daughter, whose nose might even be bigger than the dildo she sells with her dad. I don't know yet. But yeah, no, that speech was amazing with the ex Clinton victim who laid it out perfectly. Knowledge is the best way to defend yourself against the mind control mechanisms that are being are being enacted on you, usually without your awareness, and that's when it works the best. And that's why knowledge would kind of obviously be the solution to, well, I think knowledge, and from what I hear from other victims, is immersing yourself with the love and faith of Christ. And so knowledge and total faith in Christ, and showering yourself in Jesus and God, it seem to be the only ways that you can avoid or overcome these mind control tactics and these programming tactics and these conditioning tactics and the abuse tactics that everyone has fallen victim to in one way or another. Now it's kind of the game. It's the game of navigating out of it, getting through it, avoiding as much as we can. Now it comes back to rebuilding, reprogramming. So that was fucking good shit. I mean, it's crazy that she's just watching Bill Clinton just railing lines of coke, also being the coke kingpin in fucking Arkansas or wherever the fuck he's from, and moving the country scene to where he is so that he can sell more coke is crazy. And then he's putting cigars in pussies and fucking his aides, and when he doesn't agree or play ball with Israel, that shit comes out. And goddamn. And I'll keep that light off. All right, we're gonna watch a Rabbi Shmuley video though. But the goddamn Clintons, dude, I can't believe anyone acknowledges that family as anything other than a crime, one of the most notorious crime families of all time. I don't know how anyone can seriously acknowledge and take themselves seriously if they don't believe that the Clintons are top 5 crime families all time. I think it's even funnier. Who is the lawyer of, well, one more thing. Who was the lawyer, I'm asking good old Grocky Grok, of the Clintons who killed himself? Who is fucking Hillary? I forgot his name. Jay Foster is his name, I think. Let me see. Um, let's see. Vince Foster. All right, so yeah, this guy, Vince Foster. Let's see if Grok is going to be based right now. The lawyer associated with Bill and Hillary Clinton, who died by suicide, was Vince Foster Jr. Foster was a longtime friend and law partner of the Clintons from their day in Arkansas at the Rose Law Firm in Little Rock, where Hillary Clinton also worked. He was highly respected. He was a highly respected attorney and had been one of Bill's closest associates for decades. Role in the administration. After Clinton's 1993 inauguration, Foster became deputy White House counsel, the number 2 position in the White House legal office. He died in 1993 on July 20th, exactly 6 months into the Clinton presidency. Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park in Virginia, near Washington, D.C. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Yeah, Grok, you're not being based now. A revolver, an antique Colt that had belonged to his father, was found at the scene. He shot himself not only in the head. Vince Foster shot himself in the back of the head, because that's how you really kill yourself if you are an associate of the Clintons. And given he was the second most powerful person regarding law in the Clinton administration, he probably knew some shit. And also, he was their lawyer from way back in the day in Arkansas, from the coke days and the abuse days of that girl that just gave the speech. And probably Vince Foster probably knew a little bit about the frazzle drip activities that Hillary and Huma like to engage in, and a whole bunch of other shit probably. But I'm also pretty sure that Hillary Clinton was fucking Vince Foster as well, which we heard the victim say that both of the Clintons are fucking bi. They almost prefer the same sex over the opposite. And they're known to cheat on. Obviously, they're known. Fucking Monica Lewinsky's Mossad pussy came over and honeypotted Bill Clinton's retard ass. And that's when Epstein was first starting to come over and get his tentacles in the fucking White House administration. Really started making connections around that time when the Bill got into power. But to one more thing about Vince Foster and the Clintons, if you look at Chelsea Clinton, the daughter who Ghislaine Maxwell attended the wedding of, funny enough, she seems to photobomb everyone. No one ever wants to be in a photo with her. They like run away when they see her walking up, but then a camera pops out of nowhere. Getty Images is like, "What's good?" And somehow she's like, she just fucking transports to wherever that Getty camera is, and that celebrity that the Getty guy is going to take a picture of, and she just jumps behind and goes, "Well, got you. Got you." Yeah. No one would want to take a picture with Ghislaine. She would just photobomb people, and that's how she'd blackmail you. She's like, "I know I'm scummy. I just need a picture with you." But Vince Foster, okay, so Chelsea Clinton looks like Hillary. But the thing is, she looks nothing like Bill. And when you look at Vince Foster, I think is the one that I think it's the lawyer that killed himself with a gunshot to the back of the head. Chelsea looks a lot like Vince Foster. I think it's him. I'm not going to look into it now because we got to get going with this. All right, so my bad. I had a little interruption, but that last little bit that I was going to say about the Eyes Wide Shut parties and connect it to why Chelsea Clinton looks like Hillary but nothing like Bill is because in Chelsea it might not be Bill's biological daughter, and in fact might be the daughter of someone like Vince Foster, who killed himself by shooting himself in the back of the head, who is also a lawyer for the Clintons, who knew them and was connected with them all the way back to Arkansas, who probably had a lot of dirt on them, who even occupied the second most important and powerful position regarding the position of, or regarding the lawyers in the administration. Vince Foster was the second most powerful. When Clinton was inaugurated, he brought Vince Foster with him to be that to play that role. And so to get back to Chelsea Clinton, she looks like Hillary, but looks nothing like Bill. And when you think about these eyes wide shut parties, where they're just it's a huge elite ritual in which they all have these weird ritualistic masks on, and they're all, so no one knows who's who, and they're all engaging in this big fuck orgy. And well, you could probably see why there might be a bunch of politicians that go to these things, and they're all masked up with these weird animalistic pagan masks, and they're all fucking each other, all just swinging essentially, and people have kids from that. And whoever the woman is that has the kid, the husband that she's with, because they make an agreement probably where they're like, the girl said it early on in that speech. She's like, both the Clintons were bi, even more bi than they were straight. So you could see how they end up with kids from these orgies that might not even be the biological kid of who ends up raising them, like Chelsea Clinton. Yo, all right. My bad, I'm retarded. I know I said I was gonna do the little hate watch on the recent Rabbi Shmuley video dump, and I'm still gonna do it. I'm just gonna do an extra episode. It's getting interrupted left and right here. Got noise everywhere. Got the game on. Blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna record the hate watch of the Shmuley video drop right now, and it's gonna be a separate episode, and it's gonna be public as well. This one is already hour 45, so kind of works anyway. So yeah, I will just do 2 separate episodes. So peace.
Life's barely long enough to get good at one thing.
You're fat long.
Yeah, so be careful what you get good at.
It's cultural swine, bitch. Now where's the blow?
Ballerinas doing pirouettes inside of my snow globe. Shopping sprees in Soho, you had to see it. Strippers shaking ass and watching the dough blow. Ace trumpets and rose mode. Yellow diamonds look like PP. Bitches fly from DC on my private to Waikiki. 3P. Niggas is my sons and that's on repeat. Sins of the father, so I call you little Michis. It's easy. How could you and me be? Ever seen his peers? Can't compare, you just CC. Don't you know these clears in my ears? Only VVs. Play musical chairs, Fred Astaire through these GTs. Too much wear and tear on your bitch, she couldn't please me. White glove service with the brick, I am Luigi. Sold ecstasy and disappeared, I am Houdini. Look at them, him and him, still waiting on Yeezy. I hope you got your squeegees. Had your interviews, I just kiki. Life's peachy, ASAP with Riri. You rappers all beneath me, but love like the Bee Gees. International flights connect me to the Wi-Fi. The only way you reach me, Ballerinas doing pirouettes inside of my snow globe. Shopping sprees in Soho, you had to see it. Strippers shaking ass and watching the dough blow. Ace trumpets and rose modes. Henny Alavaca, Panama fishing village visiting with Papa, with choppers. All of you imposter, simply just Ferrari window shoppers. The one that I just sorted looked like it was built by NASA. Over $500,000 we call for Kasha. We reaching for Akasha. Never leaving home without my peace like I'm Mahatma. From the tribe of Judah, I'm Mufasa. Never turn the other cheek, you'll die at the Oscars. Persona non grata, mi casa su casa. Drugs killed my team spirit, welcome to Nirvana. You was Fuji Lala, I was Alibaba. Dressed in house of Gucci, made from selling Lady Gaga. Hakuna Matata, island wearing tie-dye. Umbrella in my rolls, match the one that's in this mata. Listen, you are not I. Cross T's, not eyes. I done disappeared and reappeared without a voila. Ballerinas doing pirouettes inside of my snow globe. Shopping sprees in Soho, you had to see it. Strippers shaking ass and watching the dough blow. Ace trumpets and rose modes.